I am Anuradha. I am a PhD student from entrepreneurship area at IIM Bangalore. And with me are Manishika and Tanya, who are EPGP students. So we are here to talk about the digital financial landscape of India and how it is affecting the businesses. So Manishika and Tanya, let's talk about the recent phenomena, which is the digital public infrastructure and how it is promoting different solutions for credit, commerce, logistics, etc. So we can start about OCEN, which is the Open Credit Enablement Network. I know you both have worked on it extensively and you have taken interviews from different vendors. So first of all, what is OCEN and why OCEN?
Open Credit Enablement Network, also known as OCEN, is a transformative framework that is designed to address the significant gap that MSMEs and small businesses face when it comes to accessing credit. It is an interconnected ecosystem that simplifies and democratizes credit, basically allows businesses, especially those with no credit history or no collateral, to be able to access loans. And why now? If you look at MSMEs, it's a growing population and only 11% of these MSMEs have access to formal credit. So there has never been a more dire need of inclusive and an efficient lending system than now.
So I understand your interviews were mostly about the day-to-day challenges which the vendors are facing. So what is the current scenario and what are the challenges being faced by them, either operations-wise, finance-wise, or any other stream?
So when we interviewed these vendors, mainly in the unorganized sector, we noticed that they do not have access to the formal credit system, majorly because either they lack the collaterals or they don't have established credit history. That makes them turn to the local finances that are present or their family or friends, which are charging extremely high rate of interest. Now that leaves very little scope for them to actually grow or expand. Then the other challenge is seasonality of these businesses. They do not have the time or the money to plan for their expansion on those lines. Lastly, if I talk about the traditional ecosystem that we have, the financial ecosystem, right? In that lens as well, it's a very tedious process. It involves a lot of documentation and a lot of presence in these banks, and they do not have that capacity to leave their businesses and go ahead with these processes. So all of these just limit their capacity to go for credit in general.
So you talked about the traditional finance. So what are the current financial streams which they are utilizing, either from formal or informal sector, both for long-term users and short-term users?
The first and the foremost source that they go to is either informal money lenders or friends and family, who lend them a small amount of loan for their ad hoc operations. And these are usually smaller size loans, and they come with some interest rates, but they cannot really scale operations with that. Second is your digital platforms like Bharat Pay, Phone Pay, or Paytm that have come up now. And the issue with these is that there is a good gestation period before which you can claim a significant amount of loan. They come with an exorbitant high interest rate, and they also have inflexible repayment terms. And the last one is, apart from your traditional banks, you have NBFCs and some government schemes like the Mudra Yojana. However, they are slightly restrictive, slow, and more bureaucratic in nature. So it's a challenge for the current businesses to get formal credit as of now.
Okay. So going back to OCEN, what exactly is the structure of OCEN? Who are the stakeholders of the OCEN?
Okay. I have to put it simply, I mean, the stakeholders involved are exactly the ones that I would say are present in the traditional ecosystem. OCEN in general is providing a network. It's actually an architecture which is connecting these stakeholders very seamlessly. So there's digital flow of data everywhere between these stakeholders. Real-time transactions can be exchanged. So if I have to specifically list them now, then I'll start with the technology service providers that are actually building the framework on which everything is relying upon, right? They provide the APIs, for example, the authentication API, the heartbeat API. I mean, we can discuss them later, but these are the ones that are the core of the offering here. Then we have lenders on one end, all of your banks, NBFCs, financial institutions in general, which are out there to lend money. The borrowers are, I would say, the gig workers now, the ones who do not have collaterals or maybe a credit history that they can just go ahead with formal line of credit. That's why these would be our target audience through OCEN, I would say. Apart from that, we have loan agents who would be helping these borrowers to get the right information in terms of terms and conditions, or even just navigating them through the process of entire lending. Additionally, we have KYC partners who would ensure right onboarding to the platform. Like only when the KYC is done correctly, then the borrowers or anyone else can be registered on the platform. So when these pieces individually were owned by banks or NBFCs, like end to end, now it's being democratized. Like entirely there are people playing their part and just exiting the system. So for example, OCEN also has loan management system. Within that they have data providers and then collection partners and disbursement partners. Individually they all are doing these nits and pieces of work for the entire loan journey. Lastly, we also have credit guarantors. Now, their role is very important because they are actually absorbing the chunk of risk here. They are allowing the lenders to broaden their horizons and include these players who do not have access to formal line of credit. So I would say these are certain players who are essentially involved in the process.
Okay. So you talked about different stakeholders who are present on the network. So how do these stakeholders all come together and form a functional relationship so that OCEN can actually function and give out credit to eligible businesses?
As we were previously discussing around the traditional system in general, the issues that we have there are we do not have alternate modes to finance these borrowers, right? Now, OCEN would be looking at flow-based lending, which means your real-time transactions around, okay, what you did today, how much money did you earn, what actually got credited in your bank account. Now, this data would be flowing real-time through the APIs that OCEN has to provide. In such a system, I would say, as you were discussing, I mentioned the heartbeat API, the authentication API. OCEN is that core which would ensure the authenticity on the platform. For example, the authentication API would ensure that the tokens are rightly validated and only people who have validated tokens can fetch the right data. Then the Heartbeat API would ensure that all the players who are connected in this network at any given point are able to, access those APIs. Otherwise, there's downtime, then those things would be highlighted. There's Journey API, which actually tracks end-to-end journey of the loan application, like where it is at any moment. They help the borrowers as well as the lenders to track what is exactly happening. Then there's Analytics API, which is helping my lenders and the guarantors to know the status of their money. Like, okay, if there are defaults, then can they fetch the money back? So all of these things is what OCEN has to provide.
Okay. So Manishika, Tanya talked about the transactional data on which OCEN actually functions. Yeah. So I believe it actually promotes digital flow-based lending, because it uses those transactional inputs or data repository and treats them as collateral, and then spans out loans to businesses, individuals, whoever is the borrower. So can we talk a bit more about the role of data in OCEN or similar solutions?
Yeah, so data plays a really crucial role in the ecosystem of OCEN. Firstly, it can extract real-time transaction data. So taking into account UPI transactions, GST, or even bank transactions, what they get to understand is borrowers' creditworthiness based on their business performance rather than just credit documents. The second is alternate financial metrics that we look at. So derived data partners give you access to cash flow and behavioral insights that improves credit risk assessment, and overall it integrates data into the ecosystem that benefits both the borrower and the lender. The borrowers can have faster access to credit, larger loan amounts and flexible repayment terms, and when it comes to lenders, they can disburse loans more efficiently. The processing system can be more efficient with the help of OCEN.
Okay. So, this digital flow-based lending, as per my research, I was able to see that it saves all the businesses, entrepreneurs, startups a whole lot of time. Now, this time and attention can be allocated towards short-term perspectives of the business, the long-term orientation, and there might be a slight possibility that they end up actually wasting their time and money because they are just able to get more and more loans and credit solution from this network. So, what was your experience when you talked to the vendors? What was their input and their perspective regarding such kind of solutions?
What we noticed when we talk to the vendors in terms of the business operation issues or other scaling issues that they were facing, a system like OCEN or just broadly digital flow-based lending can actually help them get faster access to credit because it involves real-time data. So it can ditch the slow processing that the traditional banks use. It also improves financial inclusion because institutions or businesses that earlier did not have access to credit will now have access to larger credit. And there's better risk assessment involved because it's all data driven insights. So it just not only helps with loan disbursement but also helps business having flexible repayment terms that hugely helps them in their operations. And overall it just promotes business growth, which was the entire idea of having a system like that in place, so that businesses can actually get more credit and scale to more larger levels and be able to run their operations more smoothly.
So, we talked a lot about OCEN. So, what exactly is the future of OCEN and similar solutions down the line?
What we realized talking with the businesses is that they're slowly moving away from the traditional lending system of banks and they're relying more on credit options like Bharat Pay, Phone Pay, which are giving them flow-based lending. So they are slowly adopting that. While the loan agents in the OCEN network might not be very popular at the moment, we've seen this adoption from the vendor side, from the businesses side, to accept this kind of lending system in place and to be able to utilize it to their fullest advantage. So just like how UPI never saw good adoption right when it started, but is now the primary payment mode, we feel like OCEN is also going to be the future going forward for small businesses.
So, probably some sort of digital literacy with the borrowers and some sort of intermediation which connects them more and more and provides them more information about the options available in OCEN that might be able to drive OCEN forward.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, thank you so much for joining and thank you so much for explaining about OCEN and other solutions. Thanks a lot.